Best Warlock leveling spec for solo casual players. Today we'll be talking about all three specs that Warlocks have in World of Warcraft: Destruction, Demonology and Affliction, and I will express my personal opinion, as I always do, on which one is best suited for leveling. Spoiler alert, in case of Warlocks, all three specs are very viable for leveling, but it depends on your playstyle. And I would like to, in this video, to spend some time talking more specifically about how each spec plays and feels in the hands of a casual player. So if this is the information that you're after, please stick around and we will be talking about all of that today. Also, while I have your attention, I will be, towards the end of the video, I'll be giving you some additional thoughts on Warlock versus Beastmaster Hunter choice. I know it's a very popular topic on this channel because I'm a casual. I like both specs, and you do too. A lot of you do. So reaching level 60 in endgame right now of Shadowlands has made me change my mind a little bit, or at the very least made me consider certain points that I'd like to share with you, and I think there are not that many to create a separate video, so it's gonna be part of this one. Thank you very much for your attention. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Gyro. If you're new here, particularly warm welcome to you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing. Today we're talking about Warlock from the perspective of best leveling spec for a solo casual player who is not a pro. So let's talk about Demonology first. Demonology is a spec of the Warlocks that offers the best Warlock fantasy, in my humble opinion, because I think mostly, and it's not the only thing obviously that Warlocks are famous for, but mostly Warlocks are famous for summoning demons. So you summon demons, and certainly Demonology is what does it really well, better than any other spec. Demonology, in my opinion, offers the best control of single targets and smaller groups, simply because you have a lot of demons. So obviously all these demons, they keep attention of the enemies really well. As long as these demons are on the enemy and are cleaving the enemy and are exploding in the face of the enemy. And that is really what kind of makes that point of being really good, this spec being very good for single target attacks or for smaller groups, for controlling of the smaller groups. Does it remind you of anything? Does it remind you of the playstyle? Does it remind you of anything? Never mind. So another positive of Demonology is that I think it has a lot of cool toys. It's a good spec, it feels really well, it has good mechanics. I don't know, implosion and other kind of things. The Hand of Gul'dan is a very iconic kind of ability that hits boom from the sky, summons imps, then you explode the imps. So it's really fantastic, and I think that Demonology feels quite well. It's a very well fleshed out spec, in my opinion. Plus, speaking about demons, obviously in terms of Demonology, what Demonology is famous for, Demonology has the only demon with charge, stun and whirlwind. It's a very attacky, very cool demon. It's a big shame that Demonology and any basically Warlock spec, unfortunately in Shadowlands, did not get any new demon forms. I am very disappointed with Blizzard about this, and I understand that probably the best time to do that would have actually been Legion, because Legion was all about demons. I thought honestly that they are going to explore abilities for us to change the look of our Felguard, or replace Felguard permanently with something else. And yeah, I think that there used to be some sub-spec of Warlock a while ago when I wasn't maining a Warlock, when I wasn't playing much of a Warlock, and we used to be able to have a Wraith Guard. Wraith Guard is a variation of a Felguard. In case you don't know what those demons are, you can find them in somewhere on Draenor. And basically, we used to be able to change our look as Demonology Warlocks a little bit, but not anymore, unfortunately, because fun detected, fun removed. Another negative to mention here about Demonology, to kind of offer you the full picture if you don't play the spec much, most abilities of Demonology Warlock have cast time. Of course, there are instant procs, there are instant cast procs like Demon Bolt, and they hit hard and they still look good, and Implosion is instant cast as well. But everything else, Shadow Bolt, you know, Hand of Gul'dan, that kind of stuff requires Seed of Corruption, requires cast time. that's okay in itself if you just look at it in an isolated kind of case. But if you start comparing it to other specs, as we will in a second, and you start looking at what other specs can do, Demonology sort of requires what effectively turns out to be a very kind of slow or relatively slow ramp up of this damage, of summoning all these demons, of casting these Hounds of Gul'dan, of doing this and this and that, just to get enough demons and enough imps to start attacking even one target or smaller group of enemies. Cleaving them demon alone, the Felguard in front of us alone, doesn't appear to contribute too much of a damage to your DPS output, which is also somewhat disappointing in my opinion, because I do think that specs similar to Beastmaster Huntery, such as Demonology, which is really just a sister spec, really from a different, it's a brother from another mother, honestly, in my opinion, which is why it's so dear to my heart, probably because I love BM Hunters. I do think that Demonology should have had a lot more of a contribution. The component of damage should have been more massive from the demon. Instead of that, basically how Demonology feels right now, to me personally, is that you need to do a lot of work, a lot of these cast time based spells, a lot of this ramp up summoning of demons, just to take down one or two targets. So it's kind of, to be honest, it's rather slow. It's rather slow to get, yes, demon can charge from one target to another, sure, I do all this stuff myself as well, but it's slower. It's much slower, at least in my hands, and I welcome always your opinions in the comments down below, especially if you are approaching this from a casual solo perspective as well, rather than someone who is a pro, who has always been a Warlock. But I want to hear your opinions too, guys. With that, we are moving to Affliction. Affliction, without a doubt, is my currently, I still think that Demonology is the best fantasy, but Affliction is my favorite spec. So, Affliction is not as bursty as other two specs. It is a little bit, if you look at a single target gameplay, it could be seen as also slow and steady, but not from the cast time perspective, but from needing to dot things up perspective. So a lot of dots are instant casts, but you have to throw a few of them and they start slowly ticking on the target. Yes, you can drain, you can soul drain, you can do a lot of things, but at the same time, it could produce an impression of being a little bit slow. It also requires, so the right play style of Affliction, in my opinion, is that you always should attempt to dot up multiple targets, otherwise it's just not worth your while. But it's very much worth your while if you got good at basically dotting up multiple targets and malefic rupturing them. I've published several videos already that touched on BM Hunters, on Affliction, comparing Affliction to BM Hunters, as well as just recently sort of very closely looking at this new gameplay of Malefic Rupture, the new thing that was introduced for Shadowlands. And that is where my criticism of Demonology comes into play, because Malefic Rupture, even just Malefic Rupture alone, is a wonderful tool that they've given us for Shadowlands, the Warlocks, Affliction Warlocks, but they've given us nothing of an equivalent for Demonology. That is my annoyance with it. So it could be seen, this multi-dotting and all this kind of stuff could be seen as quite busy work. It's kind of busy work as well, but at the same time, I think that Affliction presents huge opportunity for people who play it well, or even medium, kind of like me. I don't even think that I play it well, but I certainly practice a lot and it certainly is very dear to my heart. So you dot up multiple targets. You have a lot of life leech happening. You have siphon life from everyone. You have passive shield regenerating, because you're doing single target damage as well. You have, your dots are amplified. The talent that I took as an extra dot, the big purple circle one, is also an occasional, on a very short cooldown, occasional opportunity to heal up and do a lot of damage. So Affliction feels very tanky. It feels like multiple targets are dying around me and I can Malefic Rupture them. I do not need to group them up. They don't have to be in one spot to AoE them. If they're in one spot, I can throw a couple of Seeds of Corruption additionally to everything and they'll spread corruption across everything. Basically, I think that Affliction overall is the biggest bang for the buck for someone like me, who is a casual, but at the same time I want to level the most efficient way. If I go into an area and I'm doing, let's say, a bonus objective, or just simply kill a lot of targets objectives, and we'll be talking about leveling opportunities in Shadowlands in some further videos, because we will now have also a Fate Scrub available to us, who will allow us to level similar to how adventure mode of Diablo works, where we can jump from one target to target instead of following a storyline and just do the kill quests. Kill quest, kill quest, kill quest, kill quest, kill quest. In that type of environment, Affliction is fantastic because you dot up multiple targets, they all start slowly dying, while you keep running around and keep dotting up targets. It's fantastic for tagging targets. If let's say you are in a cross-faction environment where Alliance or the Horde, whoever you are not, could tag targets, but because you're so insta-cast and because you can cover so much land tactically as an Affliction Warlock running around, you can just dot up a lot of targets and tag them, if that's what you want to do, you know? So it really is wonderful. It really is a wonderful spec, and this is not a spec guide per se, which is why I'm only expressing my opinion, which one in my opinion is best for leveling. And like I say, it basically depends on your choice, and we will still talk about Destruction in a moment, but for me, I can tell you right now, it will be Affliction. Destruction, never pretended to be an expert, not even with other specs, but other specs I kind of know a bit more, a bit better. With Destruction, seriously my least known spec, but very enjoyable, love it. Cleared horrific visions on Destruction, spoke a lot highly about Destruction, probably not as highly as Affliction for me. And here is why. So we will start with the positives, because in my eyes, and it's not to say that the choice is wrong if you play Destruction, absolutely not. But just talking from my perspective, in my opinion, there are more negatives about the spec for a casual solo player than positives. So we will start with positives. Positives are that it certainly is also strong fantasy. It's a very strong Warlock fantasy. Hellfire and stuff, basically. You know, summon Hellfire and burn everything to crisps. Wonderful. Embers everywhere. It also, without a doubt, offers the best burst of all three specs. It is a sniper shooting type of stuff. I think my people who were saying to me in response to another video, and I don't hold it against them, we just have a nice friendly giggle always in the comments, all of us, they say to me, you just don't know marksmanship hunters, Gyro, and that's why you don't like marksmanship for leveling. I don't, guys, but in this particular case I'll say Destruction is similar to me. I would compare Destruction to marksmanship. Marksmanship does big shots. Don't let the enemy reach you. One shot them. Boom, boom. Well, Destruction does similar stuff. Big spells, crits, boom, boom. You know, chaos bolts, conflagrates, and stuff burns and stuff just didn't even understand what hit them, right? It's cool. I love that too. I love to see that. And would that work in leveling? Well, of course it would. Of course it would. But I just explained to you how I feel about Demonology. And Destruction in this sense is similar. It also is very cast-based, unless it's conflagrate or unless it's procs, unless it's instant procs of some insta-casts. But it's very cast-based. Your AoE is very, very strong. You have Cataclysm, you have Rain of Fire, you have that kind of stuff. But it again is limited to specific area. So you need to attack smaller groups or very bunched up groups, or groups that your tank of your group, of your dungeon group, has grouped up for you, but not alone as you're running in the world and trying to basically cover a large area. And I am looking from the lens of a person leveling right now. You need to tag a lot of mobs or beasts, or you're doing some world objective, like in the outer world. It's so much easier for me, at least as Affliction. Boom, 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 tap, tap, tap. I basically dotted everything up, Malefic Rupture, everyone is dead. Here you have to, let me ramp up this mega huge spell, boom! In that time I would have already dotted up 3 targets and they'd be half dead. I'm exaggerating, I'm not picking up a fight with my dear Warlocks, but you know, I'm a passionate dude, and you know, I hope you got used to my style by now and you take it for what it is, not for what it isn't. So I would dare say that Destruction is certainly a single target to small group based. Havoc, the Cleave, you know, all this kind of stuff, all of that design of those things to me suggests that it's smaller bunched up groups, and that's not how I play, how I level. And finally, I would also say what kind of, in my book, does not give any extra kind of, you know, any extra pluses to Destruction in my list, is that it feels too much like a mage. It does. It feels too much like a mage. It's like a mage who is having a bad day. Quite honestly. And very, very bluntly, as a friend, completely, you don't have to agree with me, it's cool. But if I wanted fire and targeted AoE with fire from heaven, whatever, I would have played a mage. I don't want to roll a warlock just to do what mages do, to be honest, yeah? So the only thing where it's better than a mage, and yes, I think it's better than a mage, by the way, I do, is because you still have a pet. You still can have a pet. You can have a tanking pet, which is why I still am saying that destruction is very viable for leveling. It's just not how I'd play. Not how I'd play. And this is how I feel about Warlocks and Warlock specs for leveling. I hope you were able to align with me, even if you don't agree with me necessarily. If you don't, tell me why not. Tell me what am I missing in your opinion, or what do you prefer? Because I think neither of us is missing anything per se. We just like to play differently. That's my supposition. You tell me in the comments down below if I'm right. Now, before you go, if you're interested about my thoughts on Beastmaster Hunter, here is your little addition, little appendix to this, as promised in the intro of this video. I published my my kind of overview of the early end game guide for level 60. You're most welcome to take a look at that. Gives you some information, shows you a bit of a Beastmaster action, and where I talk specifically, pay attention to world quests when I mention world quests in that video, yeah? Again, this is not a world quest discussion video, but I'm gonna mention one thing. After taking a look and taking my Beastmaster Hunter all the way to level 60 on Shadowlands beta, and after experiencing firsthand some content in the open world and some very intense, what turned out to be rather intense world quests with a lot of spawning happening right around me, and me playing a mecha gnome without a self-heal, because normally in the past I played Draenei Hunters. Draenei also don't have, like, Hunters don't have a self-heal other than acceleration, but what Draenei have is also a racial that allows you to heal yourself periodically, and to be honest with you, I was using it all the time, that racial. It was very, very helpful. Now I experienced both harder environment where pressure was on me all the time. Mobs were hitting my Beastmaster pet so hard that my pet was dying all the time. I experienced my pet dying more often than I ever did in the previous expansions. I honestly am telling you. And in addition to that, I had to heal myself, and I don't have any heal. Acceleration is on cooldown. I don't have any racial available to me. So I was even dying on more occasions than I wanted to. And I wasn't even being reckless. I wasn't even being particularly reckless. But anyway, that alone, considering how close in my book Beastmaster Hunter and Affliction Warlocks were on that list of choosing the main Beastmaster Hunter, right? Now, having extra perspective, gained an extra perspective of basically how end game of Shadowlands is looking for casually geared alts, I am telling you that I would say that Affliction Warlock for me is pulling ahead now. It is. It's a world of changing priorities, and I am reporting to you guys as I discover it myself. Hopefully it will help someone who is still on the fence about this. I am sort of happy that my earlier video that I already mentioned today, where I was thinking that Affliction Warlock is going to be my ranged DPS of choice, but in this case it looks like it's slowly swaying towards being my main for Shadowlands. Let me know what you think about that. But I thought that I'm going to mention it to you today in this video, just in case, just like a little extra bonus, if you like information for you. Let me know in the comments down below what you feel about all this. What do you think? What do you think about leveling spec for Warlocks? And what do you think about Warlock versus Beastmaster Hunter? Does this argument make sense to you? I'm telling you, Warlock has a lot more self-heal, and you will want self-heal. That's it, my friends. Now it's definitely that's it. Please hit the like button. Please tell YouTube that you like these videos so that it can show it to more people. The more of us here, the merrier. I love the discussion, and the more of us contribute to the discussion, the better. That's what I want. And subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be speaking with you very soon. Videos are being released twice a week. See you later.